Hey, welcome back to Thursday Thoughts. Yeah, we're actually back now. We saw each other this Sunday at the Father's house, but I wanted to film this final Thursday Thoughts before flying back to San Diego, simply because I was telling Ben the story. He wasn't even alive at this time, but right at this intersection, we almost lost our lives. We're here in Oahu, just outside. You can actually see Honolulu right down the road here. We had been about a week into our School of Church Planting here at New Hope, Oahu back in 2002. We just had little baby Elijah. I think he was a year and a half old. And we were coming down this street here, and a guy was flying down this road in his 4Runner. We had just bought a brand new Ford Focus station wagon, because now we had a kid. I had to trade in my truck, got a station wagon. We were ready. We're so excited. We're going to learn about church planting. We're going to plant churches. We were on purpose, on mission. And we had a brand new car. And Cindy, out of nowhere, screams. And she says, "John, stop!" And I slammed on the brakes and turned. And just out of the corner of my eye, saw the car, this 4Runner, flying through. Didn't even remotely notice the stop sign. And if Sydney hadn't said stop or hadn't yelled at me to slam on the brakes, that 4Runner would have run right into me or into Elijah or both of us. But because she yelled in time, it hit the front of the Ford Focus station wagon, pushing the engine in, and it was going so fast that it actually flipped and was on its side over here. The whole car filled with smoke, the airbag deployed and burned my arm. But here's the amazing thing. The only injury we had was my arm being burnt from the airbag. Could have been so much worse. That guy's gonna watch out. He's gonna get in an accident too. But you can see people just come flying down here. So we got Elijah out. He was crying. I actually went over and helped the lady out as she couldn't get out of the car. And the amazing thing is that in terms of injuries, there was no major injuries. Now, we were here in Hawaii, though, living on support, and now we didn't have a car. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, God, didn't you ask us to do this? I thought this was our calling. In Romans 8:28, you've probably heard it a million times, that says, God will work all things out for the good for those who trust him, those who love him, and according to his purposes. We were on God's mission. We were walking out his purpose. But just because you're walking in God's purpose, it doesn't mean that life is going to be without collisions or accidents or hardships. I think we get this wrong. We think when we're following God or when we're in his will, that somehow that means that it's not going to be hard or difficult or even sometimes tragic. And yet we have that first promise that God's going to work it out for his good. So I don't know what it is that you're going through right now, but I just wanted to remind you of that here in the Christmas season. A lot of times we end up making lots of plans that crash, that collide. And we say, God, I thought I was walking out your will. You are. And he's going to work that out for his good, but it doesn't mean you're not going to go through a hard time. Now, here's the amazing thing. We had no car. We had no money to buy another car. And then Pastor Wayne of New Hope, Oahu actually said, hey, I have a car that I'm getting rid of. I'm just going to give it to you. It ended up being this major blessing because the people that were financially supporting us, they actually ended up not being able to do it. We wouldn't have been able to afford a car payment anyway. So God was so good that even though this tragic thing happened, he actually ended up providing for us in a way that we had no idea we were going to need. I just want to encourage you in this Christmas season, right here at this intersection where something horrible happened, at the intersection where you're at right now. Maybe it's in your relationships, maybe it's in your finances, maybe you're really, really struggling because you can't afford to give your family the Christmas that you gave them before. Listen, you give all of that to the Lord. You let him meet you at the intersection of fear and faith. You walk out God's purposes for your life. Don't doubt that you're in the middle of God's will just because hard things are happening. God is going to work this for your good as long as you continue to put your trust in him. He did it for us. He's going to do it for you. I can't wait to see what God does through your circumstances. Thank you guys so much. God bless.